doing a video because once again, uh, a complex is trying to find a way to evict us. This will be in the past 8 years since we came back to the States, the eighth year. This will be the third time that somebody's found a way to cleverly force us out of some place to keep us destabilized. And I will name names. I spent a lot of time with Baptists, and my stepmother in Carroll, Michigan. All I'll say is initials KK and MK. They, as soon as she found out I wanted to do some kind of ministry as a Catholic, first of all, she tried to interfere in my daughter's baptism, until finally I pleaded with the priest. I said, this is not her right. It has nothing to do with her. Then he said, okay. He said, yeah, she called me and said, it's okay. I said, well, it's nothing to do with her. But evidently at the church, they're scared that she could try to make some kind of trouble or something. That's the first time. The second time was Country Way. Our place was supposedly, which is owned by Midwest Capital Management, LLC. And I haven't found the pathway to connect them to Morley Capital Management, but I found it was interesting that an AI found a loose connection. I just never pursued it. But it's owned by an investment portfolio, basically. And the LLC, that's so you can't take a lot of their money if they get sued. Basically, that's the only reason you create an LLC. I know. I have one. And they claim to have our place rented while we were looking for a place. And we were on month to month at that point. And they rented it from under us. They're doing the same thing. The place we are now, which is owned by another investment company, an LLC, run by a very ambiguous property management company that gets lots of fat federal contracts. And I've never met a Republican that preys on housing contracts. It's just, I've never encountered. This is a very Republican company. And, they're supporters of the president. I just can't fathom, But anyway, they're raising our rent, which should be, considerably high, almost 25%, which would put it above fair market rent, which would, in essence, evict us because of the VA program I'm in. They won't pay that high of a rent increase. It's 25%. It's really close. I'm at $963, and they want to move it up to $1170, which is ridiculous, really. But I received the letter, opened, of course. That way people could read it, post it somewhere. But I'm taking a stand. I'm tired of people targeting my family to cause us harm and prevent us from getting on our feet, prevent us from moving forward. It's harmed my daughter. It's harmed my health. And I've had enough. Now the Lord will be glorified because this has made us tougher, stronger, more fierce in fighting demonic oppression, more fierce in our prayer power, and more fierce to stand for justice, as the Catechism teaches every single Catholic. And for that matter, any Orthodox or Lutheran or Methodist or Baptist, if you don't stand for social justice and stand for right and wrong, then your faith is without works, just as much as the good works you do are without faith. You're nil. And if you don't believe me, then you can turn to a dozen scriptures that will back me up, which I'm not going to cite here. But I'm tired of things happening to my family to prevent us from getting on our feet. and so much targeting, so much abuse, so much stuff, so much taxpayer money spent. People, certain agencies, a couple of agencies, of course, we've encountered a lot of workers within a couple of agencies that have targeted us too, but at least we find one remnant good person. Most of them, the good ones, I find are of faith. They have some kind of faith. And it's genuine. They're the ones that at least keep us on track with our, funding, with making sure the errors in our program that were done to retaliate are corrected, et cetera, et cetera. But still, the fact of the matter is, many of the workers in several programs have done nothing but sabotage us, set us up, try to paint me as a troublemaker or mentally ill or incompetent or aggressive, whatever. Especially when I confront predatory behaviors. Like setting people up to fail, like lying, like, using a fake identity in a call with an administrative judge when you know that it's not a supervisor at all. It's the worker standing in for the supervisor, but the judge doesn't know that. But I did. Things like that. Or workers with programs like HUD-VASH, setting you up to get kicked out of school because you're going to go into debt, and then you will no longer be able to get your student loans. But nothing happens to them. Even though they made promises to reimburse you, and you went probably around $2,000 to $2.5 grand in debt, all based on their promises that were lies, but they were never prosecuted. And for that fact, for that matter, another serious problem with this situation is that their ID was never verified on my end. Matter of fact, they refused to, only giving me a shoddy, banged up ID that they claimed was from the VA, and they wouldn't let me hold it or look at it. It was snatched out of my hand quick. Well, I don't want to say snatched out of my hand, but I had to give it back quickly. The fact of the matter, everybody that's supposed to be connected with the VA, I've never had one person verify their ID. Not one person. And I know some of the social workers, they have no record of doing social work in this state until they went to the VA. And how does somebody just graduating from school get a job at the VA? Just like that. Bam. And some of the social workers I found are registered with prison, with Jackson State Prison, that they do their social work there. But they don't have any record of them working with the VA. The person who is licensed to do social work with the VA is from a completely different state, and they're 30 years older than the social worker. I see all these strange things. Ohio social worker employed with VA in Michigan, but yet, according to the Ohio registration, the person is 30 years older. Oh no, correction, 40 years older. They're in their 60s. So, none of these questions have ever been satisfied. Nobody's ever investigated a thing. And all the targeting, all the theft, all the vandalism, all the hacking, all the destruction of our stuff, including my car, including my identity theft, including somebody, drawing unemployment in my name, including someone using my identity to file for taxes. Nothing is investigated. Nothing. And so now we're poised on being homeless again. Once again, still not on our feet. I have had enough. I believe God has a plan, and I believe this is going to be for His glory, and I submit to His will, and I pray for justice. And this, enough is enough. I'm taking a stand. And whatever I have to do with media or protests or to walk to Lansing and make it a very public walk. And the fact of the matter is, people are trying to cause harm to my daughter or to make me lose custody of her because they keep targeting me, or they try to force me to give her up, which has always been suggested. Oh, maybe it's better for her. I've done nothing wrong. I'm not a criminal. But yet somebody is recruiting criminals to do things to my family. I've had enough. And this is just a notice to those organizations such as Midwest Capital Management, Premier Capital Management, Premier Real Estate, Premier 3, Premier 1, Morley Capital Management, Countryway, all those places that have let my daughter and I get targeted. And this is a notice to my adopted father that he didn't make a stand for his son, which for the most part of my life he's been gone. I've only seen him 3 times in my whole life, 3 times. Understand that he was kind of bullied into backing away. You know, my mom didn't want him to have visitation. I understand these things, but still, as a man, as a father myself, people have done things to drive a wedge, a gap between my daughters and I. I'm not like them. I'm not like my mother. I'm not like my adopted father. And I don't really know my biological dad that much. Didn't get the opportunity. Because once again, I listened to somebody who likes to alienate people from people. And that was my mistake. But I'll be taking a stand. And I encourage anybody else out there, if you're being unfairly targeted, don't be silent. This is why this stuff continues. Especially if you're on a VA voucher or social service voucher or TTI or MRS. All these programs that help you pay your rent, they help you get on your feet. Or if you're permanently disabled, they just help you have I'm not saying a great life, because the budget is really, really poor with these kind of programs, disability programs, but at least you're not homeless. And it gives you a fighting chance. These landlords and these giant complexes owned by 1%ers, they don't have the right to abuse the tenants, disabled people, single parents, veterans. They don't have the right. And to target people by renting their apartment under them or by jacking up their rent 20, 30, 40, 50% when they know it's above FMR, fair market rent, so their voucher won't accept it, enough is enough. This is not 1%er money. This is money of the American people. And the American people, we've decided we believe in charity. Yeah, if somebody's disabled, it will be a lifetime of charity. But still, we can make improvements. Because we know the vast majority of people don't abuse these systems. And when we have people such as myself and other people I know that are veterans who are disabled or people that are disabled, and they want to step up, they want to have a better life. They don't want to just sit and watch TV and collect a disability check. They want to do something more. Even if they own a business or work somewhere and the disability goes up and down, they want a better life. When 1%ers like this target people, whatever political group or whatever extremist group or whatever it is they belong, that prompts them to target people, I'm looking for people like me who have had enough. Now, I'm not moving people for some kind of violent protest or something, but I'm telling people, you stand for yourself, because if you sit and you're silent, people are going to repeatedly wipe their shoes on you. And they're going to do that more and more and more as you get older and more frail and more quiet and more weak and more tired. It's only going to get worse. There's a time to take a stand, and I encourage people, take a nonviolent but firm stand. If we learned anything from the civil rights movement, is when injustice knocks on your doors, don't be moved.